in what could be one of the most lucrative and anticipated fights in mixed martial arts history. Professional Fighters League PFL owner Don Davis has publicly stated that Jon Jones could earn $50 million if he steps into the cage against Francis Ngannou. Building on this possibility, the long-awaited dream fight between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou may not be as far-fetched as it once seemed. However, when Jake Paul had put Francis Ngannou on the spot about facing Jones, Francis Ngannou, without hesitation, welcomed the challenge but pointed out the obvious roadblock that the fight hinges on, which is whether the UFC would allow Jones to compete outside the promotion. Now signed with PFL, Francis has repeatedly shown interest in the matchup, but contractual barriers and the UFC's control over its top fighters have kept it from materializing.
I think I will, but we will never know unless they let him fight.
It's so sad, the fights that Dana is blocking.
Echoing this sentiment, Jake Paul did not hold back when addressing the biggest obstacle in the way of Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, Dana White. According to Paul, the UFC boss has been the one actively blocking the fight, depriving fans of what could be an all-time great heavyweight clash. Paul expressed his frustration, stating that the fight would be incredibly entertaining, but that greed is ultimately getting in the way. He even went as far as to call it nothing short of a sin. And as a fight fan, Paul made it clear he badly wants to see Jones versus Francis Ngannou, but unless the UFC changes its stance, the fight remains locked behind corporate politics.
And just the whole fight industry, from UFC fighters, boxing. I want to see Sugar Sean O'Malley box. I want to fight Alex Pereira. I want to see you versus Jon Jones. Like, there's just so much fun that could be had in the fight world, but greed is a crazy sin, and he is sinning, and it's sad to see, man. It's sad to see. As a fight fan, like, I want to see you versus Jon Jones so bad, and
I won that fight. I always wanted that fight.
Offering a contrasting perspective, Dana White sees things differently. The UFC president made it clear that he has no regrets over how things played out. White stated that he did everything in his power to make the fight happen, but ultimately it wasn't meant to be. Shrugging off any disappointment, he simply said, "It is what it is."
Are you disappointed with how that played out, Dana?
No, because we did everything in our power to try to make that Jon Jones fight, and it is what it is.
Adding another layer to the discussion, Chael Sonnen weighed in on the ongoing Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou debate, revealing an interesting dynamic involving Stipe Miocic. According to Sonnen, Miocic, after suffering a third-round TKO loss to heavyweight champ Jon Jones, sided with Francis Ngannou, believing the former UFC heavyweight champ Francis would have won.
Between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, Stipe went with Francis. Stipe said Francis would have won. Do you believe Stipe gave the answer that he truly believes? Jon Jones got very nasty to Stipe. If you're not aware that that is just the process Jon goes through, you could get your feelings hurt.
However, expanding on his analysis, Sonnen says he gives Jones a pass, suggesting that Jones thrives in situations where he can turn himself into both the underdog and the victim. He noted that Jones's confidence tends to grow over time, but there's always an element of chaos surrounding him, whether it's a last-minute opponent change or some other unexpected factor. More importantly, Sonnen believes Jones operates from a self-imposed moral high ground, which forces him to frame his opponents as villains. Whether that's just a psychological tactic or a deeper personality trait is up for debate.
And I give Jon a full pass. Beating Jon almost takes like a weird ingredient, a last-minute fight, a change in opponent. Jon's confidence does grow over time, but Jon also likes to be a victim. He just likes that. The side that I stand on is righteous, thus needing to make his opponent a very bad guy.
Continuing his breakdown, Chael shed more light on the tension between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, suggesting that Miocic may not have been accustomed to someone confronting him the way Jones did. According to Sonnen, Jones accused Miocic of certain things leading up to their scheduled fight, not necessarily because he believed them, but as a way to get into the right frame of mind.
I don't think Stipe's ever had somebody come met him like that before. What John was accusing Stipe of as a way of just getting himself into the right frame of mind.
Elaborating further on this dynamic, Sonnen believes this approach may have caught Miocic off guard and possibly offended him. Sonnen went on to say that this lingering frustration might have influenced Miocic's decision to side with Francis Ngannou in a hypothetical fight against Jones. In his view, Miocic claimed that Ngannou would beat Jones wasn't purely based on skill or analysis. It was clouded by the way Jones had handled their interactions.
I think it offended him. And I think because of that offense, it has clouded the decision for Stipe to say that Francis would beat him.
Offering another perspective on the matchup, Joe Rogan had previously weighed in on the Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou debate, emphasizing the unpredictability of a fight between the two. While acknowledging that Jones is an incredibly tough fighter to bet against, Rogan pointed out that he has never actually fought at heavyweight despite training with bigger opponents. On the other hand, Rogan highlighted Ngannou's raw power, calling it a nuclear option that applies to anyone on the planet. If Francis Ngannou connects cleanly, it's game over.
You know, I mean, Jon Jones is a tough guy to bet against, but he's never really fought a heavyweight. He's trained with heavyweights for sure. You know,
and now
when
the
you get a
distance
guy
is
like
mitigated
Ngannou,
too.
Ngannou has the nuclear option on any person that lives. Any person that lives, if Ngannou, boom. If he catches you with one of those ones that he hit Rosenstrike with, or that he knocked out Stipe with, or the Alistair Overeem left hook,
Yeah.
that Alistair Overeem one was one of the most disturbing punches I've ever seen a guy get hit with, because he was off before, like, he went to the ground.
Countering any doubts about Jones, Dana White quickly shut down any claims that Jon Jones is afraid of Francis Ngannou, going as far as to call Jones the baddest fighter to ever live across all combat sports. White dismissed the idea that Jones has been avoiding tough fights, reminding everyone that Jones remains undefeated in his career. The only blemish on his record, according to White, wasn't a legitimate loss.
Not only is Jon Jones not afraid of Francis, Jon Jones is the baddest fighter to ever live, ever, in any combat sport. If you look at Jon Jones is undefeated in the UFC, right? He's got one loss on his record. He lost to Steve Mazzagatti. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
He's the worst referee to ever fucking ref any fight. And
Big Steve.
Reigniting the conversation, Don Davis, the founder of the PFL, set the MMA world ablaze with his latest post, teasing a potential $50 million mega fight between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou. The post, featuring a dramatic image of Jones with money raining down behind him, boldly suggests that this fight would determine the true heavyweight champion and the undisputed pound-for-pound king, given the ongoing debate surrounding Jones's reluctance to face Francis Ngannou. Don Davis stated, "I know one way Johnny Bones earns $50 million, Francis Ngannou, to decide the true MMA heavyweight champion and the real pound-for-pound #1. That would be the fight of the decade for MMA fans." Amplifying the hype, the image in Happy Punch's post perfectly captures the magnitude of the proposed clash, showcasing both champions with their respective belts, one representing the UFC and the other the PFL. The offer directly challenges the UFC's grip on the heavyweight division, reigniting the debate over who the true no one is, with Jones's legacy on the line, and Ngannou still eager to prove he's the baddest man on the planet. Fans are left wondering about the probability of this fight. Adding his perspective, Francis Ngannou made it clear that he wants the Jon Jones fight, emphasizing that he has always been open to making it happen. However, he remains pragmatic about the situation, stating that while he's willing, the fight either comes together or it doesn't. Life moves on for both men regardless. His stance highlights the ongoing frustration surrounding the matchup, which has long been seen as one of the biggest what-ifs in MMA history. While Ngannou is ready, the question remains whether the UFC and Jon Jones share the same willingness to settle the debate once and for all.
I'm in the point that I don't hold up to stuff. If he works, he works. If he doesn't work, he doesn't work. I'm still having a life. I think both of us, we're still having a life.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the KSI fight. You know, like I want it, but
That shit never happened.
it's probably not.
Weighing in on the controversy, Luke Thomas admitted that in the past, he wasn't fully convinced by the narrative that Jon Jones was ducking Francis Ngannou. He believed that the accusations were mostly speculative, with people attempting to interpret Jones's motivations without concrete proof, essentially reading between the lines.
I've not been one of these guys who was big on the idea that he was ducking Francis Ngannou
Ngannou. I mean, I can't say it happened or didn't. I don't really know. That's basically my point. It's a little bit unclear to me about whether he did, but the case up to this point has been, to me, a little bit presumptuous. People just kind of assuming he did it by reading into motivation or trying to, like, you know, get an assessment of the tea leaves here. And it was a little bit astrology, you know, trying to like look into things that weren't necessarily there.
However, Thomas now finds himself reconsidering that stance. He pointed out that Jones has consistently put obstacles in front of what is undeniably the most important fight in heavyweight MMA. Whether it's injuries, contract disputes, or drawn-out negotiations, Jones has created roadblocks, making it increasingly difficult to dismiss the idea that he is, in some way, avoiding the biggest challenges. Shifting the focus to future challenges,
Maybe I'm reconsidering that a little bit. I mean, we're just talking about somebody who is constantly putting obstacles in front of the only fight that matters, and not just the only fight that matters, a gigantic, lucrative fight. And again, I know the story, which is he could just be negotiating for more money. But one more time, this is not a company that likes being leveraged, that does not have, it has no history of, for the most part, of being leveraged.
Aspinall weighed in on Jon Jones's approach to studying opponents, acknowledging that Jones is a meticulous tape watcher and one of the best at breaking down his rival's tendencies. However, Aspinall believes he holds a unique advantage as his fight footage is limited, making it difficult for Jones or anyone else to analyze his style in depth.
Jon is a massive studier of his opponents. Yeah, he's a massive tape studier. Like, that's one of the things that he does best. And the tapes are just not really out there of me. And the fact that I live over here as well, I think it's a massive... I think some people see it like as a detriment living in the UK away from it. For me personally, I think it's amazing because, like, when I go to Vegas and training, like, I see how intertwined everybody is with each other's business and stuff. And like, I'm out here and I'm just doing my own thing and nobody knows anything about me, and I love it.
Turning his attention to Francis Ngannou, Tom Aspinall had high praise for Francis Ngannou's power, calling him one of the most dangerous punchers in combat sports history. He described Ngannou as a physical specimen, emphasizing just how destructive he is, even with bigger gloves. Aspinall admitted that he already viewed Francis Ngannou as a terrifying force in MMA with smaller gloves, but seeing him in large ones only reinforced that belief. He noted that Ngannou's wild, unpredictable striking makes him even more dangerous, as he throws punches from unexpected angles and applies relentless pressure. The transition to 10-ounce gloves, in Aspinall's eyes, did nothing to diminish Ngannou's power. If anything, it only highlighted just how much of a wrecking machine he truly is.
Ngannou is, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous punchers ever. He is an absolute physical specimen. I thought he was just dangerous with the little gloves on. You know, he comes in from all angles, he throws all over the place, he's a little bit wild. And then obviously when he put the boxing gloves on, the 10 ounces, obviously that transferred over, and the guy is just an absolute truck.
Moving on to another highly discussed potential fight, Tom Aspinall accuses UFC heavyweight champion Jon Jones of avoiding two major challenges in his career. Delving deeper into his criticism, Tom Aspinall didn't hold back when discussing Jon Jones, stating outright that he believes Jones is scared of him. While acknowledging Jones as an incredible fighter, Aspinall accused him of conning the public, expertly manipulating the media to control his narrative.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the thing with Jon is conning the public, man.
Whoa. And Logan Paul, it's his favorite fighter.
Yeah. Oh, is it really?
Well,
yeah. Listen,
I mean, he's definitely top three. He's definitely top three.
Absolutely. I'm not disputing that he's an amazing fighter.
According to Aspinall, Jones has been avoiding Francis Ngannou for 3 years and has now been ducking him for over a year. He made it clear that he isn't denying Jones's skills, but he sees a pattern that Jones is strategically avoiding the toughest fights at this stage of his career. While Aspinall respects Jones's intelligence and how he plays the game, he isn't fooled by it, suggesting that beneath the carefully crafted image, Jones is picking his battles more carefully than ever.
I think the fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou for 3 years, and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year, and he just, the way he manipulates the media and the public is super smart. I'm not taking anything away from him, but do I think he's scared to take the tough fights at this stage in his career? Absolutely.
Can you understand that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can.
You can empathize with that?
I respect it. I respect it, but if you're going to ask me the straight up question, is Jon Jones afraid to fight me? The honest answer would be yes.
While many fighters might wilt under pressure or second-guess themselves against elite competition, Ngannou's confidence and fearlessness set him apart, making him one of the most dangerous heavyweights in combat sports history. Tom stated, Francis is a physical giant, but he is also a mental giant. What he's been through his life, where he is. Aspinall believes one of Francis Ngannou's greatest advantages isn't just his physical power, it's his unshakable mentality. According to Aspinall, Ngannou is simply not intimidated by anyone, no matter the opponent. He described the former UFC heavyweight champion as an absolute truck in both mind and body, making him a nightmare for anyone who steps in the ring or cage with him.
One of the biggest advantages that Francis Ngannou has against anybody is he is not intimidated.
Bridging Ngannou's unyielding mental strength with Jones's evolving approach to competition, Luke Thomas pointed out the stark contrast in Jon Jones's approach to competition over the years, noting that the once fearless champion who took on every challenge without hesitation now appears far more cautious. He highlighted how Jones, who once thrived amid chaos and distractions, is now requesting 6 months to prepare for Tom Aspinall, a shift that makes him almost unrecognizable compared to his earlier years. This change has only fueled the growing narrative that Jones is no longer as eager to take on the toughest challenges, further intensifying debates over whether he is avoiding high-risk fights like those against Aspinall or Francis Ngannou.
He wants 6 months to prepare for Tom Aspinall. And it just seems to me that if you watch Jon Jones take on every single opportunity they could throw at him at that moment in his life anyway, when he was nonchalant about any particular distraction that the world could throw at him and would overcome it, to go from that to where we are today makes this guy almost unrecognizable.
Deepening his analysis, Luke Thomas further criticized the ongoing delays surrounding Jon Jones, suggesting that the demand for more money is just another tactic to stall. He questioned why Jones, who had already taken 3 years to prepare for heavyweight, suddenly needed even more time.
You can use the attempt at asking for more money as just yet another delay. And in fact, the delays to me are actually kind of the problem here. Did he not take off 3 years in order to get his body right for heavyweight? Did that not happen? Did I imagine that? Did he fight between the Reyes and the Gane fight and we just didn't see it or something like that? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here?
Further elaborating on his concerns, Luke Thomas emphasized that Jon Jones's entire rationale for his lengthy hiatus was to transition to heavyweight properly, not rushing the move. Jones himself stated that he wouldn't make a reckless leap into the division, instead taking the time to build his body the right way. And yet, after finally returning, he fought once, got injured, and has now delayed another year for a fight against Stipe Miocic.
But a big part of that was, I'm not gonna rush to heavyweight, he told us. Not gonna make some kind of blitz into heavyweight and just not do this the right way. Gotta do this the right way. Gotta do it the right way to get your body right. And he did, and then he fought, and then he won the title. And granted, he was supposed to fight, I think that was March of 2023. He was gonna fight in November 2023, and he got injured. Okay, you had yet more time off for that, to the point where it was yet another year delayed.
Underscoring his skepticism, Thomas questioned the logic behind Jones's approach. Luke stated, "How much time do you need? It just doesn't sound plausible. It doesn't sound realistic. It doesn't make sense." He questions that if Jon has already taken years to prepare, why does he constantly need more time?
And now we're looking at, again, it's hard to know exactly what they might do with the calendar, but if we're already talking about this fight not being until September, we're already 10 months past that fight with Stipe.
With a $50 million offer on the table, the stakes for Jones versus Ngannou have never been higher. Yet politics, contracts, and delays continue to stand in the way. Will this long-awaited clash finally happen, or is it just another MMA dream fight lost to time? Only time and the UFC will tell. As all these perspectives show, the potential clash is mired in complexity. Now, we'd love to hear your take on this evolving story. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, share it with a fellow fight fan, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a beat, and we'll see you in the next video with more combat sports updates.